Hi there everybody, and welcome to another video. On today's video I have this VW Passat. This is a 2006, the B6 version. It's a 2-liter petrol FSI automatic. So I'm going to be changing the spark plugs in this car, and the spark plugs are sitting inside of here. So we need to remove these coil packs in order to get to the spark plugs. So if you needed to replace a coil pack, then you can use the same method here. So I'm going to start by removing, actually just before that I warmed up the car a little bit. I ran it for about 15 minutes just to get it warm, but not really hot, or I didn't want to have it cold either. When the spark plugs are warm, they seem to be a little bit easier to remove. So anyway, I'm going to start by, well, I am missing 2 Torx screws from here. So you would have to remove the Torx screws from these ends here. So you have a little bit of movement on this cable, but mine are missing. Don't know what's happened to them. And before I move on, I'm using this spark plug socket. Is an M10 here. The actual size of this is 16 millimeters. So these plugs, this area here is 16 mil. So it's almost like a 16 mil socket, but it's a spark plug socket, which usually has a rubber in there to catch the plug and pull it out, even though this one is missing. So technically it's a 16 mil socket. But it's just made for plugs because sometimes they need to be a bit more skinny and whatnot to get into the holes. So that's what it is. The plugs as well, these plugs are platinum plugs, so just make sure you get the correct ones for your vehicle, because it can be different for different vehicles. These might be platinum, but if you have a different size engine, they might not be platinum. So just check with your supplier and see what they recommend. So with one of these, I'm just going to pop these coil packs out a little bit. So just carefully. This shouldn't be too hard. After obviously this point, you don't really need a tool, just using it because my other hand is holding the phone. So anyway, there we are. All of that is out in one piece. Now, if you needed to replace one of these, or all of them, you just need to open the clip up here and remove that. We'll look at that in a minute. Okay, so I just put this back in there momentarily, but what I wanted to show you is that if you needed to remove one of these, you just need to get the little clip here open, and then you can unplug this from there. Same with all of them. I can see that somebody has been on this before, because this clip is broken, and so is that one there. Those 2 clips are actually broken. So this is probably not securing anyway. I can just pull it out like so. So that's a bugger. Whoever did whatever work they did here, they broke the clips. So ideally all you want to do is twist. So if we have a look at this one here, if you just twist that little clip or push it back a little bit, it will separate it. You can just hear that click, and then you can pull the cover. You can just pull this out. So let's try to do this with my hand, with my finger. Pull the bit back. And then get that out. Just like that. So that's how you can sort of remove the coil from the cable connection back here. And then if you had a new one, just get your new one in there. And lock it in place. And that would be it. Unless your clips are broken like mine, and then that won't clip. But saying that, the position that this is sitting on, it'll be very hard for one of these to come apart. It will be impossible, because all of them will have to come apart for one of them to disconnect from the coil. So let's get this out. Here's my socket with an extension. Get it in there. With the ratchet, loosen that plug, which is a little bit hard. So that's one of the reasons I warm up the car, because one of the problems is that we could, if the spark plug breaks in there, then that would be tragic. So you could even well, warm up the car and then perhaps spray a little bit of WD-40. If you let your plugs soak in a little bit of WD-40, then that may help with removing them. So let's get this one out. If your spark plug socket also doesn't have a rubber like mine, you can use some long nose pliers to catch the plug and take it out. I could see it. There we are. That's a VW one. made by NGK. So these are the plugs I'm using. NGK. I'm also just gonna pop them in there with my long nose pliers carefully, because you don't really want to drop them from here, because this part here may bend, and then that won't be good. Do check your plugs, just have a look, make sure there is a gap in there. I mean, I believe that gap comes preset, but if you're really geeky about those things, then you would have to get filler gauge and then get the measurement recommended by the manufacturers, and then you can set the gap yourself. Right. So I always screw this in by hand as much as I can, make sure they are going in the correct direction. The last thing you want is to force this in and suddenly you have a damaged cylinder head. So always put them in finger tight, because that way you can definitely not damage the thread unless you are the strongest man in the world, which even then I don't think you could screw this in and damage the cylinder head. Right, so there we are, all of them are in, finger tight. Okay, so I have my torque wrench here, and what they recommend apparently is 25 Newton meters. So I set this to 25 and we'll see approximately how much of a turn that is. I don't normally use a torque wrench, but I'm gonna use it this time. So it's about a quarter turn. And that's 25 right there. So technically that was pretty much a complete half turn. So from the screwing them finger tight all the way into the cylinder head, you can then turn your wrench from, say, this point half a turn, so then your wrench is pointing that way. That would be half a turn. I just can't do it because I haven't got enough room. So I'm just going sort of half and another half. But also you may notice there is a slight difference, because some of these, when you put them in finger tight, you might be able to tighten some of them a little bit more than the others. It's just because, for example, I sprayed some WD-40 on this tree, and it might be a little bit easier to go in all the way in, whereas this one, it may have been a little bit less. So it's just a bit of give and take, but in the end, well, if you have a torque wrench, then just use it. That way you get the correct pressure. And that's it. But I could carry on tightening this. It's fairly easy. It's just that we would end up breaking the plug or damaging the cylinder head, which is what we want to avoid at all cost. So there we are. And now we can fit our coils back in. Right, push them right in there. You want to make sure they are sitting all the way down. And I'm gonna try to get a couple of Torx screws here and secure this part. I don't know if there's something else that's supposed to be here holding this. Anyway, doesn't matter. That's the job done. I'm gonna start the car and make sure it's running properly without any misfires. Okay, running very smoothly, no issues there. So happy days. And having done this, I hope this video helps. It's not a particularly difficult job. You just need to have the right tools. So whenever you have the right tools, the jobs become a lot easier. So again, having said that, I hope this video helps. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video. Thank you for watching.